I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is a special edition of Carcassonne viewer game analysis. Today we'll be looking at 3 games that y'all have sent me that happened at the European Team Carcassonne Online Championship last week. For those of you who don't know, this is a tournament where Europe's strongest teams, 17 of Europe's strongest teams were competed in Carcassonne, and Team Poland ended up winning. So congratulations to my Polish viewers if you are here or if you're watching later. And many of you have sent me games from that championship for analysis, and this is what we're going to do today. So different levels, but of course the level of the games today will be a bit higher than average, simply because, you know, it's the European Championship. Obviously, there's going to be stronger players than usual. But for any of my newer viewers, don't worry about that, because we will be talking about some, not basic concept, but concept that I think will be understandable for pretty much everybody. So luckily, the 3 games that I have chosen to show today will have quite a lot of mistakes in them to discuss, so buckle up. Alrighty, first game was sent to us by the user with the screen name Silent Monk, and this is from the preliminary round match between Team Latvia and Team UK. So here we will be sweating it out with Silent Monk, and our adversary is going to be Jack Fowler of the UK with my favorite screen name, Jackface, and the green meeples. And here we'll be playing the red meeples. And in all 3 games, we will talk mostly about opening play and how much it matters for the overall chances of winning the game. Alrighty, move 1. We start like this, which is all very good. Jacques Fass responds over here, and here is already a crucial move. So this is where you would really need to know your opening. I see that some of you are already here. I would like to wait a minute or so and hear in the chat what are your suggestions for this move, what red should do in this situation. So in the game, red did not end up playing the best move, and it cost them quite dearly. But what is the best move in this situation, and what is the second best move? So the truth is, there are 2 viable moves that you can play, one slightly better than the other, and many mistakes that you can make as well. Jehan Peklevan is saying block road with meeple. So you mean this one, yeah? With a meeple on the city. Any other suggestions? Yeah, got it. That's what you meant. So, well, I'll tell you. I mean, this is a legit move. You can start a new city like this, and I think this is the second best move. But the best move is, in fact, yes, what you're saying, Jehan Peklevan. Yes, exactly. So, and also, Elias, you're suggesting both of these moves. This is an option, but this is slightly better, and I explain why. So we go here, we play some meeple. First of all, this is already a winning mini battle, right? Because we have 2 points in this city, and green has 2 points for this road. Oh wait, why am I doing this? I can draw. Green has 2 points for this road. We have 2 points for the city, but our city has growth potential, and it will eventually outgrow over this road. And of course, there are many positive scenarios here. We can draw a Dorito, and finally we can draw a Dorito with the road and finish the city for 10 points and leave this road meeple sort of kind of stranded. Of course, what could happen is that our opponent could draw like a triple city with a road, in which case they would, of course, put it over here, get the road meeple back, but they would still continue your city. And for example, if they draw this triple city with the road, you can get another triangle and create another threat, and they will be forced to chasing you around. And most importantly, they would not be able to meeple the new juicy shielded triple city piece themselves. But there are many other considerations. One is, with this move, you're actually taking away valuable tiles from your opponent. So for example, now they cannot use a simple straight line to continue this road. They cannot use a curve to continue this road. Also, they cannot productively use a Dorito with the road, because for example, imagine if you don't place it over here, on the next move they can draw a Dorito with the road, or any city plus road tile, go over here. Yeah, let me actually just like move this away. Wait, how do I do this? How do I... Ah, okay, let me just move this away. Whatever. So they draw a Dorito with the road, and they start a new city somewhere like this. And so as a result, they benefit from the road piece of the tile and from the city piece of the tile. But we, by going over here, force them into suboptimal stuff. So for example, if they draw a Dorito with the road now, I guess they need to go somewhere here, and they start a new city, but we get to pick up the piece of road that they left for us, and maybe we get some 4-point loop in compensation. And for any other city plus road tile, it sort of works the same, especially for these juicy guys, the barbed wire tiles. So I don't know, they can... So now, if we don't do anything, if we just place over here or whatever, they can finish their road and start a new city. But if we go here, they can no longer do that. I guess they will be forced to just maybe take 2 points over here and leave an empty city cap for us to use. So these sort of mini battles, they really restrict your opponent. Now, this is also a legit move, but it's just like not that good, because your opponent can easily go over here and attack your city, or just with a simple straight line, with 2 straight lines, start some sort of blocking attack on this. This move is not bad, because it's like also takes away some options from your opponent, but this engaging in the mini battle is by far the best. So it's a bit of an advanced concept, and it can be counterintuitive because you're sort of blocking your own city, and you're starting a city in a restricted place. But there's just a lot of benefit from that. And the main problem with the move that you played in the game is that it's not a bad idea, right? Because you're restricting this road, but it allows your opponent to place a tile over here. Whether it's a monastery or a road or a city, it doesn't matter. You are allowing for your opponent to attack 2 cities with 1 move. I don't know, if your opponent gets a straight line, well, I guess no, they should still go over here. But imagine if your opponent gets like a city cap or something. They start pointing it upwards, and then this square becomes a bit vulnerable, and this square becomes a bit vulnerable. So they are decreasing the quality of 2 squares with 1 move, and this is what you want to avoid your opponents from doing. No, I need to phrase it correctly. This is what you want to prevent your opponent from doing, or this is a situation that you want to avoid. So do not allow your opponent to attack 2 cities at the same time, unless, of course, there are no other legal moves on the board, in which case you can't help it. So this is the main principle that you got to know about city placement, is place them in such a way that only 1 city can be attacked at a time. Hi Siegfried. Yeah, we're gonna continue in just a second. Wait, yeah, there we go. So Jacques Fass, of course, goes here, both attacking your city and attacking the other city. Now I guess you start a new city, probably over here. Yeah, probably over here makes the most sense. Here it is also possible, but you want to put some pressure on the road, actually. Okay, this is also all right. Then they go like this. Then you need to wait. No. Not this, not this, not this, not this. Here, of course, you need to go over here and tie the road. Because, you see, if you go over here, then the situation is your opponent has a 3-point road with a road end, and you have a 2-point road with a road end. So you're 1 point behind your opponent. Whereas if you go over here, you have one shared road, and it is better to be tied with your opponent than being 1 point behind. So this is definitely a misstep. And of course, in addition to taking only 2 points instead of 3 points, you are also helping your opponents to secure this road, because now it cannot, like, you're blocking the blocking square essentially, and this is just not ideal for you. So another opening principle is just look at the immediate value of the move that you're making. This would have been a 3-point move, and you just made a 2-point move instead. And I will notice, like, later in the game, you will start playing like really, really well at some point, but these opening moves is, I think, what did you in. Yeah, Elias is saying, oh, as green, you don't know if you would have used the extender to do that. No, it's still correct. Because if it becomes a huge ruin, which is of course an opportunity, well, then you just gotta fight for the ruin later. But with this, you are really, really putting pressure on this meeple over here. And the main thing that we're trying to prevent as green is just to prevent red from completing a city and getting 2 extra points for the road or something like this. If red gets a triangle or something, that's fine, because there are many things how we can do. Maybe we can block the square as green and so on. But yeah, I'm not going to comment so much on green's moves, because this is our opponents and we mostly care about what red does. And green will be making quite a few mistakes as well in this game, except that they do get away with it. Yeah, so you see they start blocking you, but it's fine. You just need to... that's interesting, actually. I don't mind your move. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, still probably better for you to go over here, attack this road, and have some outside chances of completing an 8-point loop. This move I also like because it's quite good defensively. The idea being that if your opponent scores 2 points over here, which they absolutely should, which they should do, then you have an option for indirect defense. So you can kind of continue your loop and at the same time secure the square a little bit. So your move is all right. I think this one's slightly better. And also, you do not necessarily have the luxury of having meeples to do stuff like this. But still, this move is okay. Your opponent now, instead of taking 2 points, I think they made something else, which also makes sense, because they are preventing you from eating up this big city, and they are, of course, threatening to eat up this big city. And even if they're unsuccessful, they're probably going to force you place such tile over here in the shared feature. So they are benefiting from this move for sure. Here, you really don't have anything better than continuing your roads. Here, they get a fantastic monastery, and here, I think you do make another mistake. I mean, you have 2 meeples, but you will need meeples for other stuff. There are still 5 monasteries in the game. There's still places to start a new city. Like, there's some city fights that you might need to have to be involved. So for you, it's best to go over here and get a meeple back. And maybe create a bit of vulnerability over here. So, I don't know, maybe you go over here, then you draw another road end, you go over here, and then your opponent draws a regular monastery, and they can no longer fit this into this square. So you're kind of making that thing happen. Yeah, and you end up doing this, which is an okay move, but you're using a valuable tile for something that can be done with a regular tile. Like, just wait for a curve to do this. There's still 8 curves remaining. And also, if you are going to do this, it is actually better to point this with the road tile upwards, because now your opponent has multiple spots where they can take 2 points over here, then 2 points over here, and then with tempo, they can block this. Well, it's a subtle thing, the orientation, but Generally, you want to be pointing with the road upwards in this scenario just to prevent your opponent from blocking with tempo. Here it matters a little bit less because your opponent has a different spot. Your opponent has a spot over here to block with tempo. But still, like slightly pointing upwards, it is better. Because you're giving your opponent 2 attempts to block with tempo. I don't know, imagine like your opponent takes 2 points over here, then maybe you get lucky, you draw this tile that goes over here, you get your meeple back, but then your opponent draws another couple of crossroads, goes over here, and blocks this meeple. So it does happen very rarely, but it does, like, I don't know, maybe turning upwards gives you like an extra 0.5 percentage point for winning this game, which is better than 0, so you gotta take it still. Wait, I'm doing something wrong. I'm clicking something wrong already. Yeah, there we go. Well, you do this. Yeah, your opponent starts a blocking attack, and unfortunately you do not get to defense. And you... What's the best move for you? Let's see what you do. Yeah, this is decent, because you want to... Out of the many possible disastrous scenarios, you want to prevent the most disastrous ones, so it's probably worth sacrificing a city cap for that. Another option was to start a new city, but I think this is perfectly legit. Now, unfortunately, they do get to block one of your meeples, but at least you get to play the second one. Now, of course, you need to start a new city. The question is where, and there are 2 different decent spots. One is over here, because you're protecting the city a little bit. You're making this square like more, not more vulnerable, but you're restricting this square, so you're preventing your opponent from using this square for blocking this square. So it's a good situation. But I think a stronger move is to go over here and to put pressure, first of all, on this square over here. You can grab a straight line and block this city. And also to have some outside chances of actually snatching up this city. It happens far more often than you think. And especially given that you're a meeple down and your opponent already has 1 monastery, like you are a bit behind. So you should be trying to create threats and create situations with higher variance. And the thing is here, if you pose this threat, your opponent does not really have a good refutation. Well, I guess they can draw a triangle or something. Well, then they would be forced to spend a triangle on a shared feature instead of going over here and unblocking their meeple. So you would have more time to block their meeple. And another situation is that sometimes when they do this, you get to draw a triple city tile and go here and actually sneak this guy into the city and keep this meeple separate. So there are a lot of good things that could happen to you. But the main idea what you can do, but the main logic how you could have found this move is just try to look, can I do 2 good things at the same time? And this thing creates 2 threats. One is a blocking threat and another one is attacking threat. And those are really, really annoying to deal with. Also, well, you opt for the second best move, which makes sense. By the way, do let me know how the sound is. I'm, after a couple of streams, really, really paranoid about that. So you go over here. Oh no, they go over here. Now here, there's a move that you absolutely must play. There's only one correct move in this situation. Well, I hope somebody in the chat can mention this. So what red should do with this curve? Okay, thank you for confirming that this sounds all right. Elias is saying block green city, and this, of course, is very, very important to do. Because green has only 2 tiles, if you do this, to get his meeple back. You see just this stuff, compared to a gazillion tiles which they have right now. So it's a severe restriction. And even 25% of the time, you don't even have to continue this block. Second, it creates another kind of blocking platform over here. It restricts the square. So for example, if your opponent draws a second monastery, then using this new platform, you can get a triangle and place a meeple over here, and with one meeple control 3 meeples of your opponent, so that'll be really strong. Now, what you did, it's not a bad idea. I guess you just take points, but the main logic which you could have used to decide between blocking and taking points is as follows. You normally want to take 1 point for the road if that 1 point does something other than only add you 1 point, or if that somehow improves the position of your road. But this move actually does not improve the position of your road. It makes it slightly worse because it makes it more vulnerable. Your opponent can, like, I don't know, put a triple city over here and delay the progress of your road. Also, you're sort of building up a monastery spot for your opponent. So other than 1 point, this move does not help your road necessarily. And in this case, blocking is definitely much more important. Yes, and now they get to save their meeple, and you see they have 9 tiles that fit here, and 5 tiles that give him a meeple back immediately. So it's definitely a much, much more unpleasant situation that we're dealing with now. But it's okay, you continue. And you're the first on the scoreboard. And now, yeah, they do get their meeple back, which is of course quite unfortunate. And they pretty much draw one of the worst tiles for you that they could have drawn, because they also create a field, and because you're a meeple down, you do not want fields to be created because you don't have enough stuff to fight for the fields. You want the position to be as close as possible. But now you kind of don't have any choice. Even though it's your last meeple, you probably gotta go over here. It's just the best monastery spot. Oh, no. Yeah, that, of course, is your big mistake over here. And I've seen this in some other games that you do, is like you're making your meeple so vulnerable. You get both of these guys blocked at a really high frequency. And also, think about this, like this move is worth 5 points, but this move is also worth 5 points, except that it accomplishes 2 other things. It controls this monastery, meaning that if your opponent continues his road and finishes the monastery, you get an extra point. And second, it takes out a monastery spot, because there's a big threat of your opponent drawing something like this, a road monastery, placing it like this, then drawing a curve, finishing the monastery, dropping a farmer over here, and then just running away with this game. So it was a good idea to spend your last meeple in this situation, but it was an absolute must to go over here instead of over here. Generally, when you're short on meeples, just don't place monasteries next to your features, especially if they're vulnerable like this, because they're just too easy to block. Yeah, so they go over here. By the way, of course, they could have gone over here instead and meeple this, trying to like really annoy you over here. But they chose to annoy another meeple. Luckily, as a result, you get away with that. And you're even on the scoreboard, but now your opponent draws the monastery. And here, it's another prioritization question. There are 3 possible moves, but there's one of these moves that I think is much better than the other. So as red, what should you do here? Maybe somebody in the chat can suggest. And also you can suggest what the second best option is. Okay, Helge is saying block the city connection, which means doing something like over here, right? Is that what you meant? Elias is saying, I like partially blocking 3 meeples, given that the quadruple crossroads is out. So presumably referring to this move. Any other suggestions? Well, I'll tell you, some other options are just simply taking 1 point over here or over here. And between these two, this move is better because it does not restrict your city. But then the question is, how do we prioritize? Is it better to do one of the 2 blocks or to take 1 point? And the answer is, it is much, much better to block than to take 1 point in this situation. This move, I actually do not want to do that. Because we are behind and we want to keep this variance on the board. And also maybe in some situations we can just draw a city cap, go over here, claim a 9-point field, or I don't know, we can draw a crossroads, take 3 points over here. We could do this later. Also, we don't want to do this because it makes our monasteries ever so slightly more vulnerable. And if your opponent is quick enough to get, I don't know, these meeples back and drop a farmer or something, maybe we want to utilize this option. If we get to the starting tile, we should absolutely as red be placing a meeple over here. So since we're the tile since we're the side which is slightly behind, both if we look at the points on the board, because your opponent is like 1 monastery ahead and even a bit more than that, and also long term they have the meeple advantage because we have this lonely guy for 2 points. Well, one way how we get back into this game is maybe we can try and fight for this big city or medium-sized city. But the best move, I think, by far is to go over here, not only because in some scenarios we get to block 3 meeples of our opponent, but mainly because it just delays your opponent by so much. So you're taking away, there's 6 curves, and you're taking away 6 tiles from your opponent and you're making them basically useless. Also, there's 5 Doritos with the road. There are just so many curvy tiles. And by going over here, you're making sure that they have 11 tiles in the deck that they cannot use productively anymore. That's like a really, really big gain. And also, it's makes the situation a bit awkward for them. So for example, I should phrase this differently. It makes this monastery build up a bit more difficult for them. So for example, if they draw 1 more monastery, or after this block, or if they draw a curve, they really cannot place anything over here, because then you would be blocking 4 meeples. So they will be forced to concede a lot of points, actually, just because of this delay. And in some situations, you even get to block this fully. And with this move, the worst thing that can happen, okay, they draw the crossroads next turn and they finish this road. But they would have done this anyway. And so the worst case scenario for you is you've just sacrificed 1 point which you could have used on your monastery. It's really not that big of a sacrifice compared to all the positive scenarios that can happen. But even if they draw the crossroads, you already gained something, because you prevent a big field from being created. Like if they drop a curve, if they get a curve and they drop a farmer, this field has so many green squares that will make life very difficult for you. Because you will kind of be forced to fight for that field because it will be too big to ignore, but you don't have meeples to fight for the field. So by making this move, you would be making sure that there are no big fields in the first place. Alright, see, Hi Glovir, I see as we have more viewers, I would need to remind you about the like button. It helps with the algorithm really, really a lot. So here you take 1 point, which is a decent move. Again, not wrong, but prioritization. Yeah, it's a problem. Your opponent finishes the city, drops a farmer. It's a good move. Here we should get a meeple back, which you do. Actually, maybe, you know what? Maybe instead of taking 2 points, I think you should drop a farmer here. Yep. I've made this mistake quite a few times. Typically, the tempo on the field is worth the extra 2 points. Of course, your opponent will be able to attack over here with a straight line or something, but then you finish a city and drop a farmer. And then this field becomes sort of inaccessible. So, as a rule of thumb, sacrificing 4 points is not worth to be first on the field, but sacrificing 2 points is worth to be the first on the field. I remember being greedy like this, and I lost a game very badly in the 2023 World Team Carcassonne Online Championship. That was my second game against the Spanish player with a screen name Meg Crack. Not the one which later became famous, like as breaking records as the lowest scoring loss, but the game before that. I might touch on that situation upon. So yeah, so I think it's an okay move for sure, but dropping a farmer over here just is absolutely worth the 2 point sacrifice, and I think it's something that you should have done. Now, your opponent has a curve and your opponent has a variety of options. They should probably go over here, drop a second farmer. They could also start a new city, or they could go over here, start a road, which I really, really like, just to be extra greedy. They could go over here and drop a farmer. They have many, many good options. Yep, they drop a second farmer, which is perfectly good for them. Something that we could have prevented. Yeah, and you see, now you draw a quick point tile, and you can't really... Well, now you can't really farm. Okay, you start a new city. I can respect that. Yeah, you're being aggressive. You're cleaning off a city cap. Certainly a decent idea. They indirectly meeple a farm, which is a pretty good move, I think, because they drew a tile which they cannot use elsewhere. Now you should probably just finish the city up top, but you do this instead. Again, kind of an understandable move, but, well, there are a couple of problems with this. First of all, the city that you have over here, look at how many Doritos they are. You want to be finishing the city with 3 Doritos. Second, this city is vulnerable. You kind of want to get out of the way, so it's a prioritization thing. And third, fighting for this field is not that important because your opponent will probably connect anyway, and then your meeple will not gain any extra points. Or, you know, they don't even have to connect necessarily. So probably you're better off by fighting for the top field and utilizing the fact that your opponent overcommitted at the bottom and simply placing a straight line over here, curve over here, straight line over here maybe, and just limiting their field with 12 points for 2 meeples, and then actually fighting for this field up top instead. But again, I can understand your move, like the reasoning there is really subtle. But yeah, they do this, and life is a bit more difficult for us, but it's okay. There are still good moves that we can play. I think the main move that we should do now is score 3 quick points, either here or here. We're behind on the scoreboard, and we should make sure that this does not stay the case for so long, but you start a new monastery, and I think that this is a mistake, actually. So normally it's okay to meeple your last monastery, but you're also letting your opponent into the field. So actually, in your best interest is to put nothing here forever and to enjoy winning mini battle. You're going to have an 8-point monastery over here, and your opponent's going to have a 3-point field. Okay, maybe a 6-point field when you finish. and then that's okay. Because like in the short term, what you did is you got yourself quite a few negative points because you took 5 points for the monastery, 1 point for this monastery, so you took 6, but you gave 6 points away by expanding your opponent's field. So it was much better to take 3 points without investment of a meeple and then just wait to live another day. Your opponent makes a mistake. I mean, they are restricting their own field. They should not really be doing that. I'm not gonna go into this. I know that they're trying to like connect these two fields, but what the point? Okay, let's say you're threatening to share a 9-point field with them, and they have another 9-point field over here. So like by connecting these two fields, they're not gaining extra points. They're eating up a 9-point field with a 9-point field, and they end up scoring net plus net 9 no matter what. Except that in this case, they deny themselves one positive scenario. And one positive scenario that they can have is, I know, they can maybe have a curve over here, then maybe they draw both crossroads, this meeple does not connect, and then they place a city tile over here and enjoy 2 9-point fields. So that was a mistake by your opponent. And generally, like, your opponent made a lot of mistakes this game, so they could have kind of punished you much harder. Yeah, they connect to the city. I don't know what you can do here, to be honest. I mean, maybe you can go over here to protect the city field connection. Maybe you can go over here, try finishing a shared city. Maybe you can go over here, but yeah, maybe going over here, attacking this. Let's see just what you do. Yeah, I can understand this. So you continue in a monastery, but then you are denying yourself an opportunity to finish the city. Now it makes sense. They start blocking you. You defend. They go over here, and you can still you can draw a splitter, you can draw a triangle. Like, good things can happen for you. So now you get a meeple back. That's good prioritization on your part, because you can make this field connection later. They start a new city, I presume. Then you threaten the completion of a city. They take quick points. What do? Maybe you go over here, actually? You know what? Not the worst move is to go over here and like... No, it's too early for that, but you could consider dropping a YOLO farmer and connecting through a curve like this. Maybe just going over there without a meeple, or going over here certainly is okay as well, just continuing your road. Yeah, okay, this is also fine, but without a meeple, of course. No, you never meeple this. Because you just get... Yeah, you just get hammered on that square so quickly. And most importantly, like, you really need to have a meeple in hand, because there's still crossroad tiles, and you need to take 3 quick points when you connect, and you need to take quick points here if you get a crossroads. So it's just better to leave the city cap open, because we're definitely past the stage of the game where it's important to like be super tight and not give back options to your opponent. Like, now just having a meeple in hand is crucial, because you can miss out on points. So your opponent does this, then you start a blocking attack on your opponent's city, I think. Which, yeah, it's a good use of a monastery. They finish their monastery. Now you're going to finish your monastery. And maybe things are still sort of kind of alright for you. They prevent you from dropping a farmer. From completing your city and dropping a farmer. That's why you don't meeple cities like this, because they're just so vulnerable at this late stage of the game. Now here, I think you need to take the quick points. Just because it's so many points and there's still starting tiles. I mean, it's really hard to recommend something. It's a difficult position. You just decide to take a meeple back, and I can't blame you for that. I guess you need it, but this road... It's just so juicy, and of course they take it instead, and that's the problem. And the fact that they did not take this road is such a horrible move. Like, it's a really, really big mistake. I mean, of course, it was a good idea that they blocked your farmer here, because now your farmer does not have an entry point. But your farmer entering this field is a moot point anyway, because it's going to be a field where they have a 2 meeple majority, just because they helped you over here. So you'll be taking a curve, you'll be going over here, and their field will be capped at 9 points, which also means that we sort of burned this meeple for nothing. But we talked about this earlier. But from their perspective, I mean, they're ahead. Why would they not meeple a 6-point road, which has a really good chance of being completed? In addition to this tile, there's also a combination of curve plus road end, and I mean, it's a really, really big mistake on their part. So what should you do? Probably go over here. Just prevent them from finishing a city. Yeah, not like that, not like that. You gotta go over here, either with a meeple or without. This move is just too passive. And you see they get an easy meeple back, so it was really, really important to go over there. Now, of course, you get a meeple back. Or do you? Yeah, you do. And wait. Oh, you start a new city. And you know what? This is actually not a bad idea, I think. Because you're trying to generate points. And I have to say, I rather like that. I think still the best option is just to take your meeple back and try to gain points elsewhere. But there's some scenarios how you don't get blocked, and you get one of these, and you get a sizable city. So no, it's a good creative idea. Because you see, like, from this point, you start getting this comeback options. Of course, here you're like a bit unfortunate in the sense that you get blocked immediately. But there are many runouts where you don't get blocked. So certainly I like the idea. Oh wait, I haven't been reading the chat. Ah, Elias is saying the farmer can enter at the top, and it's a great idea. This farmer, curve and starting tile, it can go like this. Oh, that would be beautiful. And then you can drop a farmer over here and even win this big 15-point field. Oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful idea. So yes, I didn't see that actually, so that's a great suggestion from you, but it's quite hard to spot. Yeah, here you're sort of pre-building a road, which makes sense. But yeah, but now that we know this option, of course, I think you should have gone over here and tried to connect to the field like this. Yeah, that was the play. They block your city, which they shouldn't have done. Instead, they should have just taken points. You, of course, get road points. But ain't that gonna be enough? What can we do? Yeah, there's really not much that we can do, because now we just can't get a meeple back, and while you do connect, now we just actually, okay, maybe instead of this move, you could have gone over here and tried finishing a 6-point city. Yeah, I think maybe that was the play. Or you could have gone over here and dropped a farmer, and then you hope for the splitter. Then you get a meeple back, then you connect. Yeah, that was probably the way to do this, actually. So you don't want to be connecting over here when you still have a splitter left, and at this point you need to like risk really, really hard. So with this tile, you either needed to start a 6-point city with your last meeple, doesn't matter, or to go over here on the field. Well, I guess if you have a splitter, maybe you can go over here and eat up this city. But it's a very, very specific combination of tiles. Okay, so you do draw a city, so you get 4 points. And now you do draw the splitter, by the way, which you could have used over here. And now unfortunately you cannot go over here because your opponent just drew the one remaining Dorito. So eating up the city is not an option anymore. So I think at this stage we just acknowledge defeat. Oh yeah, okay, you attack it anyway, but maybe there was a miscount and time trouble, I'm not sure. Yeah, they take field points and you end up losing this one quite heavily. But let's just wait for the points to be counted and then we talk about the main takeaways from this game. Part 1, the opening. Make sure that when you build multiple features, you do not allow your opponent multi-purpose moves. You make sure that only one of each cities that you're building can be attacked at the same time. And that's the secret behind playing aggressively in terms of point scoring, and yet still but still in a way that is safe and has a high probability of scoring a lot. Actually, you only lost 20 points, so like, I think the run out of the tiles that you had was completely winnable, even though there were some unfortunate moments, like this block. The probability was not very high of them completing that block, and yet they still managed. Overall, I think it was completely doable. The second takeaway from this game is you should block more often, especially with low value tiles. Like a blocking attack, especially when it like really restricts your opponents, such as with this city over here and with these 3 meeples over here, is more important than simply taking 1 road point or 1 monastery point. It just does much more for your win probability than simply taking a 1 point for a road. And the third one is vulnerability. If you are going to spend your last meeple, or if you are going to build something in a risky place, it's fine as long as it actually gives you a lot of points. But this vulnerable city over here was just would have been worth only 4 points if you completed it, and it's really not worth putting your last meeple on a 1 point city like this so late in the game, when you might need meeple for quick points, you might need meeples for field fights and other things like this. And of course, there were other moments in the game which I think were very hard to spot, such as prioritizing which field to attack, when to drop farmers, and noticing this fields connection, which, to be honest, I did not notice actually at first myself. So many things, but these 3, if you can make these takeaways, it will like improve your game so much. And if I have to pick one of them, is you should start blocking more often and completing your blocks, like especially later in the game when there are fewer tiles remaining that fit your opponents. And I know that on my stream I often say the opposite, like, oh, you know, this blocking attack is useless and just waste a tile, because it's often true. And at this like 400-500 level, I see a lot of players who lose games because they block too much. It just happens to be not the case with you specifically. You tend to sort of block not often enough. So yeah, just try block a bit more often and see what happens. Hi Krish, hi Napami. Helge saying this was a good game for analysis, lots of things to learn from. Yeah, I try to pick the games with the most mistakes in them. So next up is going to be another game, obviously. But I feel that I've been talking a bit too loudly and too intensely because I just had so many things to say, and as a result, I need some therapy for my voice, so I'm going to be back with a hot beverage in 1 minute. In the meantime, yeah, I don't know. Do let me know if I missed anything else in this analysis, if there's any one particular move that I should have spent more time on. But yeah, see y'all in a couple of minutes. Hot water is such an underrated beverage. So, what's going to be the next one? The next one is going to be also from the match Latvia versus United Kingdom. And here our protagonist is a well-known player with a queen named Krishna. And we will be playing against the player with queen, a fanatical Lime 93, who's Chris Tucker, the brother of the reigning world champion Matt Tucker. Well, you'll see in a second why I chose this game. It is quite instructive in a variety of places, and it has fewer mistakes, but still quite a lot of mistakes to talk about. Hi, Lucky Gods. Well, I haven't seen you in a while. That's really nice. Anyway, let me just turn on the tile counter. But I think for most things, we really won't need the tile counter. And let's go. So we're the starting player, which is great. They start a monastery in the correct place. We immediately equalize. They start a city. And we also continue. So far, these are natural moves. Now, they start a road which has a lot of good positive scenarios for them. So, for example, they could connect to this road, or they could draw a crossroads, save these 3 points, and connect to this road as well. So yeah, lots of good things that could happen for them. Or, you know, they could draw something like this, and then block this square, have a winning mini battle of an 8-point monastery versus a 3-point road, which maybe like would be capped at 5 or 6, but not more than that. And here is the first move where I disagree with what you did. So I think a natural move is just to go over here. You know, it adds 1 point to your road, it creates an attacking platform on the city, all's very good. But I think the reason why you didn't do that is because because of this move over here by your opponent, you are viewing this road as already kind of shared. But I think it's still worth it because in some scenarios, this road is not shared. Like you get a curve and then you just get to preserve this road. So this is not a 0-point move. This is maybe like a 0.5-point move. Plus, you get to harass that city and you get to create that platform. And I think this is totally worth it. So you ended up just adding 1 point to your monastery, but you can do this stuff later. So see, now it seems like we could have used that platform. So you now have a couple of good moves. One is to go over here, prepare a monastery spot, start a new road. And actually, like, this is a really interesting idea with starting a road like this. Because if they follow through with the plan to connect this road, you can counter by doing over this. And like sometimes it actually happens, you know, you go over here, you create a platform to attack the city, so they're forced to defend by placing something here. Then you get another curve, and then bam, bam, you end up with a 12-point road. So it's not a bad move. The move, but I probably prefer, I mean, it's hard to say, but I think it's actually to go here and meeple this piece of road. Just to make sure that you have this piece of road to yourself, and then you can continue creating an attacking platform. I mean, it has downside as well, like you're adding a point to your opponents, which is not great, but you're also delaying them over here. You're making sure that they can't use straight lines. There are some other downsides. For example, this meeple is a little bit vulnerable, but they cannot attack this meeple without creating an attacking platform for the city. So it's really, really subtle. But I think, yeah, this is probably what I would have done. Or this. Both moves are legit. You end up doing this. Oh, which actually is all right. It's just like a more direct version of the other thing. Yeah, I guess that also works. Yeah, actually, I rather like that because, okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to do this? Really? I don't think I would if I were them. I think it's really reckless. Like, it has to be a mistake on their part. Now they need to abandon the plan and to go over here instead. And also, like, what's the point of them equalizing this road? Because they have 3 points over here with a road end, and you have 3 points over here without a road end. Your road is less valuable. Like, this move that they just played does not make any sense. Of course, they should be going over here, turning this outward. Because now you're just one curve away from jackpot. You can go over here, create an attacking platform, and yeah, you're just doing great. But you can't do this now. So you probably need to choose between two options, going over here or going over here. And I prefer the latter one. You still have meeples to be aggressive. And do you do that? Yes, you do that. Of course, this is the best move. Elias is saying, I once read a blog of someone that moved to China and one of their biggest cultural shocks was how they enjoy hot water. Well, actually, me transitioning to hot water being my beverage of choice was partially due to my visit to China back in 2014. Like, they would just serve it in restaurants without asking, which I thought was pretty cool. No, it's a really good beverage. It has all the properties of tea in terms of like warmth and everything, except it doesn't cost money. Well, anyway, yeah, you say you would point the other way, referring to the road. That makes all perfect sense. What? I sometimes... I mean, of course it's a mistake. Like, why would you do that? I can see why they would do that is because they made a mistake on the previous move, and now they need to correct their mistake again by helping you with your road. But it's... It just has so many things. First of all, they're adding a point to you. Second, they're pre-building a loop for you. Third is in some scenarios, this city gets blocked over here, like with two triple or quadruple tiles. I mean... But also, I've noticed from your perspective, if when you get a difficult position against an opponent who makes mistakes, or when you get or when you lose a game against an opponent who makes more of mistakes than you, it can really get to you and cause you to make more mistakes yourself next game. It's like really important to practice keeping your cool when your opponent makes obviously bad moves. Just keep playing your normal game, forget about the moves that they made, and just play the position. Of course, you start a new city. That all makes perfect sense. They now finally complete the connection. Oh, and now you're about to make your mistake. And I'm curious why you did that. Was that because you were maybe a bit frustrated about the fact that they're getting kind of slightly better tiles than you, even though they're making more mistakes? Or is that because of another reason? So there are a couple of good moves. I don't know, you could just go over here, like continue your road and opt for a bigger loop instead of a smaller loop like this in the future. I don't know, you could go over here to secure your city. You could actually go over here, create an attacking platform. I think it's all not great. Or a move which I really like is well, it's a bit aggressive, but you just go over here and place a meeple and try to eat up this road. I mean, my favorite move is to probably go over here, because you don't have that many meeples and you have a vulnerable city over here and you need a meeple for the monasteries. Like, you need to consolidate before you do other important things. But you play a move which I profoundly disagree with. It's this one. I don't want to show to our viewers what tile your opponent has in hand. I just want to explain why I'm not a huge fan of this move. Well, first of all, if your opponent has a crossroads in hand, they can attack this road, and it's not good for us. And there's still 6 crossroads that they can have. Also, 2 of these crossroads have a city piece, and so they can even indirectly build their city by having like this crossroads and attacking. Or, even there with a regular curve, they could attack. I see that you're creating a blocking platform for their city, but it doesn't work often enough, because think about this. What's your opponent going to draw? If they draw a city tile, they put this over here. If they draw a road tile, they put this over here. The only thing, if they get a monastery tile, they of course place it over here. And then maybe you get your Dorito with a road and you can block all this stuff. But even that scenario is not that bad for them, because they get the monastery, so they get good compensation, and they get a ruin, and so on and so on. But the main reason why I think it's best for you to leave the square alone for now is because now they can simply take a Dorito and go over here, and you cannot benefit from the drawbacks of that move. Okay, I should rephrase this. Imagine if this tile is not here. What's going to happen? They get a Dorito, they place this over here, and if they do, they give you back an opportunity to grab a crossroads and connect to the road. But because you sort of pre-block that square, now they can freely place a Dorito over here without fear of giving anything back, because let's say if you draw a quadruple crossroads, you can't place it anymore. If you draw a crossroads with a city cap, you can't place it here anymore, and so you're allowing them to continue their city without any downside. And finally, we're still early in the game. There's still all kinds of tiles available. Why not just take 1 point where you can take 1 point? So these are my thoughts on that move, and I think that was your main mistake of the game. And then, of course, after that, you started playing like really, really well, like you do most of the time. Okay, Chris is saying, I was creating a joining platform and I thought I would maybe use that road to connect with my other 2-point road in the future. Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. So sort of an idea to do something like this. But again, it's yeah, well, the problem that I was saying is that your opponent like almost always has a remedy against that, because either they're going to draw a road tile or they're going to draw a city tile most of the time. And you can see what happens now. They just do this. So That's not great for us. You now played a just... Okay, you made one mistake, but now you played a brilliant, brilliant move. I mean, how many of you, like, I'm curious, how many of you are going to find this? Like, what would you do with this Dorito tile? I want to hear from others. As red, where do we place it? What do we meeple, if anything? So I guess I gave away some tips. It's not a particularly usual move, but you could make a regular move as well. Like, for example, adding a Dorito over here is not bad. But red found something stronger. So Helgi's saying uppermost right corner, starting a city. You're being closer. Yes, yes, yes. So starting a third city is the key answer. And Elias is saying pre-finishing the road and taking the city maybe. But how? That's the question. So this is what I thought initially. I thought of going here, but Krish made a greedier move, was going over here. This is just so beautiful. And the idea is, this road is more secure, and this city is actually surprisingly safe because all the three starting tiles are still here, all the three triple cities with the road are still here, and it's just so annoying to deal with as green. Like, there's really only so much green can do, and this is just my favorite move of the game. It's so greedy, and it works mathematically. That's just so beautiful. Yeah, and the thing is, like, you said you would have done the other one. You would have placed this tile like over here, but then the city becomes much more attackable, and the road is more vulnerable. So this is just much, much safer. Even though, of course, it does not look safe. It looks super vulnerable. Now again, Krish has a choice of going here or going here. I think going here, it's a bit of an overkill. I think going here is better, but let's see what you do. Yeah, exactly. Now we need to get some meeples back. Possibly with a farmer? I don't know. Now here, if you ask me, green has to farm. Like, what's the point of wasting a tempo like this? It's going to be a huge field. It's very, very likely going to be a huge field. So I can understand red not farming because we could do this later, but green, it's the main field. Like, you just have to. Even though there's only 2 cities, the abundance of green squares, and with 5 splitters still in the game, it's a very useful move. You see, now we get to capitalize from your greed. It's so great that you get these extra 2 points. This was just a thing of pure beauty. And our position is still all right. Oh, yeah, of course, they're going to finish the city or whatever. But, you know, we get to continue our city. And what do? They go over here, which makes sense. And you finish your city, which I rather like. We can finish this road a little bit later. They're starting a road themselves, which is a good move. Here, you should probably start a new city, and you do. This is very nice and aggressive. They get to meeple back immediately. We're going to see a series of natural moves. You take 3 points. Now here, I think, well, they should now go somewhere here and start a field. And there's something they could have done before, and maybe even you could have meepled this before, but let's see just what happened in a second. You said a lot of straight roads were out, that's why you didn't take the road yourself. Okay. Alrighty, let's see. Yeah, your opponent starts the field. And you instead go here, although actually instead of this move, I maybe even like going here, starting to restrict city caps. It has downsides that it like has a potential issue of your meeple being vulnerable, but maybe instead of here, I like taking 2 points over here, because it's sort of ever so slightly protects your city. It's a very subtle thing. Maybe I just don't like giving back this 4-point road if I can help it. Yeah, maybe I would have meepled, like, taken 2 points like this. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. Yeah, probably this is my... No, I mean, yeah, there's no real way to take 4 points without... to take 2 points without downside, so it's a very subtle thing. Yeah, so see now you get another meeple into the fields. Here, I think we should always go here. I'm very curious why you do that. And also, you are expanding a field which you have a lesser chance that your opponent of winning. Because think about that. You're roughly equal on the scoreboard, but you're still building stuff with meeples, and your opponent has temporary meeple advantage, and they have the tempo, which they can use to drop a farmer over here. So you lose this field as a high frequency. I would not expand this field. I'd rather just, you know, take a move that gives me more immediate points and secures my city. I'm very, very curious to hear why you'd play this move instead of the natural move like this. Ah, great point about this. Yes, great idea. So with this move, we restrict this square, which makes it harder for your opponent to block this road. Excellent point. Actually, I didn't see that. Yeah, so they do get some more points. We get to continue our... I don't understand. Why not place the Dorito like this and make sure that your opponent does not have an attacking opportunity? Now you're sort of giving your opponent two platforms. Whereas if we just place it the other way, if your opponent wants to attack the city, they're forced to spend tiles on creating the platform. Yeah, and then you could just build it up like a normal lip city. There's still Doritos, there's still triple cities, and I just don't understand. Why not just place this triangle like this? Again, very curious to hear your thoughts. So yeah, so you see they do connect with the platform that you created for them, and also you gave them a use for a garbage tile. Like, imagine if you don't do this, if you place it over here, well then the best they can do, I don't know, I guess go over here and create a blocking platform, or go over here and create an attacking platform. But anyway, they would be creating a platform for doing something instead of actually doing something. And even if you're not going for the lip-shaped city, even if you're going for this pattern of like city cap plus triangle, it's still better to put it over here, because then you can still put this Dorito here later and then finish it with a city cap, just minimizing the amount of time that your city stays vulnerable. Ah. Oh, I see. So the idea over here is that if he gets the monastery, then the points are not that easy. But they kind of are. No, I have to disagree here. So you're saying that this move is making this monastery slightly more vulnerable, that it
deteriorates that monastery, but actually I'd argue that this improves this monastery spot. You're turning a 7-point monastery spot into an 8-point monastery spot, and moreover, if they place it over here, they have a 75% chance or better of completing this monastery with extra value. So I would definitely would not want to pre-build a monastery spot like this. So it does seem to me that you're kind of doing the opposite of what you said you're trying to do. But yes, exactly. The semi-evil hamster, as you said, is better for the player with more meeples. So it is kind of, it helps green a little bit. But my main point is that even though it looks like it restricts this monastery spot, it actually pre-builds this monastery spot more than it restricts this monastery spot. You attack the field, which I like. They are going here, trying to attack your city. This move, I'm not a huge fan of. I know that there are 2 splitters, but like you can use splitters productively elsewhere. I'd rather go over here and just simply save my city from attack. I don't know, and yeah, I can see what you're doing, but no, I can see what you're doing, yeah. Yeah, the board is super wet, which is not helpful for you because you have fewer meeples, but monastery spot and another monastery spot and another monastery spot, it's just too much. But let's see how we deal with this. Okay, so we get a meeple back, which is good for us. Hey, yeah, there we go. We get a meeple back. Yeah, they enjoy the monastery spot that you pre-built for them. Now, of course, you take the advantage of the other monastery spots. They drop a farmer, which I think makes sense. Now I'm not sure what to do if I were you. Maybe you attack the city? Now we kind of need to decide on the win condition. Maybe you drop another farmer on the field? Maybe you just connect? Maybe you drop another farmer here and say that you're going to connect through his monastery. I rather like it. Yeah, I rather like it. So you're going to connect through his monastery and score extra 3 points for the road. Or at least you're making sure that he cannot finish his monastery productively. And always you can sneak in your way through here, I guess. So I rather like it. Green is saying green should have played a field meeple at the bottom when completing the city. Oh yes, obviously. Yeah, I missed that because obviously we're focusing on red's move, but like when you start a city like this as green, yeah, great point, Joseph. When green started a city like this, the reason why you're doing this, if you're starting a city isn't in a shared field, is to attack this field and then finishing the city without a farmer. It's like a classic mistake. And as a result, they were forced to spend a valuable tile on farming, which they could have, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to go further. So yeah, great observation, Joseph. I completely agree. Now they have another win condition. So you start attacking them. Why they did that, I do not understand. Instead, they should be just taking 4 points. They are restricting the city. Oh no, I see why they did that. Actually, no, I think that's all right because if you get the triangle, then it's a complete block. So no, I think it's a good move on their part. What do? You attack, of course. They get a meeple back. Now I have a big dilemma over here. Do you take 7 points? Or do you go over here? And I do not know the answer. Because you're kind of behind. I think maybe you need to gamble a little bit more. Maybe this is just a little bit safer. To sort of get it over with the block, meeple the city, and still have outs to get this meeple back or this meeple back. I'm not sure though. Let's see what you do. So you take the greedy points first. Okay, I'm okay with that. I can also see why, because maybe in some scenarios you get this tile and then you can block his connection and attack the ruin at the same time. Now green should go over here and cut you off. But instead they drop another farmer, which is also legit, but no, actually no. I mean, no, it makes sense, But what you could do now is you could just take a straight line and go over here and block this farmer and still have a meeple majority, so I don't think it quite works. So you, of course, block the city. They complete a field connection. You score some quick points. And they scored some quick points. By the way, they drew a lot of the tiles that could have gone over here, I noticed. But let's see what you do. Ah, okay. So you said that in your choice not to block early, you miscounted that you thought that there was one regular triple city left. Okay, then of course your moves makes way more sense. What do we do here? Maybe we go here, sort of pre-finishing our monastery. Maybe we go here to block a fields connection? I'm not sure. I just want to see what you do. Oh yeah, you just complete a field connection. That makes sense. Because you have to do that sooner or later. I forgot that meeple wasn't connected. Now they connect through your monastery. Well, now I think the move is pretty obvious, no? You have to go here and drop a farmer, right? Yeah, because this field is big. It will be the game-deciding feature. You can still get a meeple back here or here. So you gotta go here and drop a farmer. Yeah, of course. Okay, good. So it seems that we should be winning this at a high frequency. Your opponent takes 3 points, and now comes a very interesting decision here. Do we take a meeple back at the risk of creating a connection platform? And I am not sure that we do. So let me think about this. We are down -9 on the scoreboard, -10 because of this. Then this is equal, -7 because of this. We have 6 points for this farm. So we're -1. And this field is shared. Now, if we do get one of the 2 tiles that fit into this square, then we are in good shape, because we're giving our opponent 1 point, but we're taking 18, so we're taking 17, and then we'll be up 16 points for the price of 2 meeples. And then maybe we can win simply by holding on and trying to prevent your opponent from attacking. Because what could they do? I guess they could go over here with this tile, drop a farmer for 9 points. And then where do they get 7 more points? Well, maybe they get quick points for this and something else, but that's a tall order. So maybe actually a legit win condition for you is to not go over here and simply start blocking field connections. I don't know, maybe you can go over here instead. Yeah! So maybe you can go over here and block 2 field connections at the same time. So you can block the field connection that connects your opponent through a straight road. And then you're also blocking a field connection where your opponent can drop a straight road over here and connect through the outside of a curve. I kind of like that, actually. Maybe that's your win condition, to just not care about the meeples and just try to hold on to the field. And then you need a straight line here and a tile over here. So that's what's two. What are the chances of winning? Like 70%, I think, something like this. No, a bit less, 60 something. Maybe that's good enough. Or if we drop this tile over here, well, it does eliminate one field connection. For example, if your opponent gets a curve, they gets a straight line, they can no longer place a straight line over here because this becomes blockable. But actually, maybe they can. And their idea is, if they place a straight line, they need to either draw a curve before you block them, or draw the second straight line so that you don't connect. Oh, this is really complicated, and I don't think I'll be able to analyze this without like a probabilities calculator or just simply writing out all the scenarios on a piece of paper. But something's telling me that maybe going over here is the move instead of finishing your monastery. I don't know, I have to look at your thoughts in the chat. Okay, Chris is saying, I counted the points and figured out that he would win by just collecting points. Okay, we need to do this again then. What's the score? Actually, imagine like, let's just look at what's the score going to be when we connect to the field. So we're now -1, -9, -10, -7. When we complete the connection, we're going to give him 1 point, so we're going to be -8. But we will going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 24 points. So we're going to be at +16. I think it's pretty hard for him to collect 16 points. Okay, I guess maybe a way to do that, yeah, is to go over here. If he can draw this tile first, and then to draw this, and score 7. Yeah, I guess that's a possibility. But that's also a tall order, because like it's a specific combination of tiles in a specific order. It's really, really tough. I mean, intuition says to me that we can just rely on this field and try to win without meeples. But let's just see what happens in the game. Again, I think I didn't miscount. I think we're going to be at +16. I don't think I'm hallucinating. And there are some outside chances for your opponent to get 16, but it's a very, very specific combination of tiles in a specific order. So I think if we go here, our winning chances are like something like 60%. This is my estimate. Okay, so you go here. Yeah, now your opponent goes here. And we have a problem. I have no idea. I have no idea what to do here. I really have no idea. Because your opponent has 3 tiles he can use to connect. And what do we do? Do we go here? Maybe we go here and drop a farmer weirdly? Like this, and a farmer here. And if he connects, we connect and we connect, but then we only tie. And we'll be losing by a couple of points. Yeah? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I just don't see a good move in this situation. Because again, like your opponent has 3 tiles that you can use to just clinch the game on the very next move. Well, let's just see what happens. Oh yeah, so you said that you placed this tile because you didn't see a chance to win anymore. He connects. You connect. He does this. Wait. And you connect here, right? Wait, would that be a win? If you go over here and you drop a farmer, of course, you would be connecting through this tile. You would not. Let's actually have a look for it. Let's actually have a look at this. Okay. Imagine if instead of this move, you go over here, you drop a farmer, your opponent connects, you connect. Your opponent, I don't know, does something with this tile, he can't do anything. You connect over here. So what would happen? The field would be tied, except that you would have extra 6 points over here. Right? And you would have extra 7 points because you would not be giving your opponent this. Okay, what am I not? Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You take this tile, place the farmer here, you connect here. So you would have 7 more points that you ended up having in the actual game. Oh no, not 7, 4 more points. Because you, of course, take 3 points for the road. And I think this would be enough for a tie. Yeah. What's an interesting endgame? Of course, it's very hard to solve in a short amount of time. But I think that this was your move. If you just placed your tile over here and go over here, then it's a tie. Well, actually, it isn't a tie. It is a tie only if your opponent makes a mistake. Because you know what's your opponent's winning move? If you make this move, like kind of preemptively meeple a farm, then what your opponent needs to do is just not connect here in the first place. Your opponent needs to like go, yeah, you just need to stay put basically and do maybe something like this. Just making sure that they have this 3-point field here that allows them a win. Wow. Wow. That is something. So yeah, so I think overall, maybe it was that move. It's counterintuitive, but I really think in this situation, you just need to place this tile over here and just simply try to hold on to the field and have the above 50% chance of winning. So something like this. I don't know. Anybody else has any thoughts? Oh, okay, yeah. So Chris is saying that a tie would not be sufficient because you're the starting player, and according to the rules, then you lose the game. Yeah, so then at that point, after your opponent's move, they win no matter what, which is of course sad. Well, I mean, I guess you win if you draw. Yeah, you win like 5% of the time. If you draw both straight roads and this and the dagger. But yeah. So what are our takeaways? Our takeaways, I don't think you did like anything strategically wrong in this game. It's just there was tactical stuff. So this earlier thing with the road, and well, towards the end, maybe like recognizing a meeple-less win condition, just holding on to the field. So I guess this is what I would probably do. And then this stuff was really, really brilliant that actually put you ahead a bit in the game. And it was, of course, very unfortunate that you didn't draw any of this. So if we are to take a strategic takeaway from this game, is that sometimes it's only like the possibility of a meeple-less win, where you just hold on to the field at all costs and try to win like this, to have that in your arsenal. Well, anyway, that took us more time than I was planning, but just because this position was so complex. But now, for a final game of the day, we will watch an encounter between two masters. But again, I'm gonna need to take a couple of minutes break just because this is so intense. Joseph is saying, was it a decisive game for Latvia? Oh, well, no, it wasn't. We lost that match 5-0, so... Well, actually, I mean, of course it mattered a little bit for our chances. Like, every duel did matter. And had we won against Catalonia, for example, then every duel would have absolutely mattered in this duel. But no, I mean, it was a decisive game for this duel, but it was not a decisive game for Team Latvia. That was like a steady, steady loss. Well, anyway, see y'all in a couple of minutes with some hot water. Alrighty, I'm back. My voice is probably more rested. And this is our final game of the day. Here we will be sweating it out with the Hungarian player with a screen name Siegfried, who sent this game. And interestingly, in the message when you sent this game to me, you said something about the opening, that you think that you didn't play the opening optimally. Oh, no, sorry, that you said that you didn't play the end game optimally. And we certainly will look at that, but actually I think much more important in this game is what happened in the opening, and that's what we will end up talking about, and that's where I really have the most feedback. And I think in the end game there was really only so much that you could have done. But yeah, as you see, you're playing like against a really high level opponent, against Martin Celinak, the reigning Czech champion, who will be representing his team at the World Championship next year in person. And of course, yourself, like a very strong player. So let's just see what happens. Oh, okay. So the first tile, yes, of course. Well, I mean, I'm still going to talk about this because of not all of my viewers will know. But yes, as you say correctly, the first tile is like a really, really big mistake. The only move in this situation is to go over here and to control the city cap. You're controlling your opponent's road. You're controlling the city cap. You're making sure, first of all, that if your opponent draws something like a, I don't know, city tile with a road, then they cannot take easy 4 points. They're forced to go over here. Or if your opponent draws a city tile, or if you draw a city tile, then you get an extra monastery point from here. And well, yeah, I guess at some form of hallucination you start placing it over here, so it's kind of like a mistake on move 1. But I'm curious, at the time, sort of, was that a blunder, or did you realize this only after the game? Like, what was exactly sort of going through your mind, or did you sort of just kind of click this automatically? Because I know sometimes what happens, I know what could have happened, is maybe you see your tile before you see what tile your opponent has. And if this was your first move and this was not there, of course this is correct because this is like the only monastery placement. I don't know, maybe if your opponent gets a city with a road, takes 4 points, and then you just place it over here because this is the only legal move. And maybe in your mind you're sort of pre-moving, you're preparing to place it there anyway. But after your opponent's placement, it opens new squares on the board, and then of course placing it over here is correct. But yeah, just to finish up the point for my less experienced viewers, when you meeple monasteries, you meeple them in places which give you a lot of points. In this case, there are 3 3-point places, and in places which control your opponent's features or control shared features. So this city cap is shared, it is not owned by anybody. So you gotta control it and gain extra points from this. As for controlling your opponent's features, you're still controlling your opponent's road over here. But then if you place your monastery over here, you're controlling your opponent's road from the other side. So in terms of controlling your opponent's features, this move is pretty much the same. Oh, okay. So you say the thing. It's mostly like a pre-move thing. That was a hasty move and you thought about the stuff in advance. But yeah, this, like, it really impacts your win percentage, I think, in this game. So of course here you... No, I need to say it differently, but like these opening moves, optimizing them probably has a much greater impact on your overall win probabilities in the game than one might think. Well, still, you win the coin flip for the city cap and you will be doing just all right. They're continuing, and then you start a new city and adding a point to your opponents, of course. Now you go over here. And now from you comes another imprecision, I think. Well, question to our viewers. Which move would you play and why? So Marty has now correctly attacked your monastery, and make sure that you cannot place a regular monastery over here and threaten the block with a city cap like this. the move that you made, I wouldn't call this like a big mistake, but it is an imprecision. I think we will need to talk about this for a little bit. So Krish Kautis is saying to create an evil hamster, and Elias is saying to create an evil hamster. Yes, of course, this is the answer. You create an evil hamster, and if you're super aggressive, you even meeple the road. Okay, meepling the road is overkill. You don't need to do that. Well, the thing with the evil hamster, it could seem as risky because, you know, you are giving your opponents a chance to place a monastery over here and score easy 8 points, but having an evil hamster spot next to your monastery is positive expected value, because if you get the monastery, then you get 9 points, because you get 8 over here plus 1 over here. And if your opponent gets a monastery, then they get only 7 points. Like they get over here, but they lose 1 point because they give a monastery to you. You placed this tile over here, and that one, yeah, I wouldn't even call it an imprecision. I think it's a mistake. I'm curious to hear why you did that. My assumption would be because you wanted to avoid variance, but I would say that maximizing your equity is more important than avoiding variance. I've lost games because I spent moves on minimizing variance against opponents who were lower rated and against whom I thought I had a good winning chance, and just taking it too far, you know, forgetting to make moves which advance my own agenda. So this move has a couple of problems. One is, well, you're taking 0 points instead of 1 point. Second, you're not really protecting your monastery because there's still 3 tiles that actually block your meeple. Also, there's some scenarios how this, well, actually these scenarios are not that frequent, how your meeple gets blocked with this square over here, but still they like exist a little bit. So it's less of a protection, and you get 1 fewer point just to minimize variance in a game where, I mean, also you're not playing a weak opponent. Like if you were playing against an expert, maybe I would understand this, but you're playing against another master. And not just any master. Like I've played them, they're really, really good. So a bit of variance against them is not that bad. But another problem is, what happens if you actually do draw the monastery? Now you've made the place for the monastery much less appealing. So you draw this, you place it over here, which of course is correct, but then you give back a 4-point road for your opponent, easy 4 points, plus a blocking platform, and now you have this meeple tangled up with the monastery, which means that if you get a city cap, you can't really put the city cap over here, because then you get 2 meeple blocked instead of 1 meeple blocked. Or if you don't put the city cap, well, congratulations, we just use the city cap suboptimally. So it was a long conversation about one move, but I specifically wanted to address this because I've noticed that in your playing style, you sometimes tend to try make the positions drier, tend to minimize the variance and so on. But we need to make sure that this does not come at the expense of equity. Alrighty, let's see. Well, yeah, minimizing variance. He can only block with valuable tile. This is true. This is true. But I just wanted to point out the other sort of positional disadvantages that I did. But still, even blocking with a valuable tile, it's still positive. It's positive expected value for him. So a dagger. A dagger is worth 2 points. A city cap is worth 2 points. And he will be adding 1 more point to your monastery. So he'll be sacrificing 3 points to make sure that your meeple is blocked. It's still a good investment for him. Yeah, now you get to go here, and I really think you should meeple that road. Like, why not? It's big. This square is unblockable, and if you don't meeple it, your opponent meeples it. I would even go further. Might even, instead of placing this tile over here, I might place it over here and meeple this road. Your opponent will probably equalize, but that's fine. Yeah, and you have 4 meeples. I think you're doing just fine. Your opponent goes over here and you start to block. It's not something that I normally do, but here I rather like it. It's not a particularly valuable tile, and it's pretty annoying for your opponent because 2 of the starting tiles are out. And I have to say I rather like this move, even though under different circumstances I would not always do that. Your opponent starts a new city, which is pretty interesting. Maybe it's not exactly what I would have done, but anyway, you have only 1 move. I'm kind of wondering why they want to block their own roads. Well, I guess they want to start building a city and maybe block this square. But of course, they end up drawing a city tile with a field instead of city tile with a road, and all they end up doing is give yourself a nice juicy monastery spot. You of course complete the block, so this sequence worked really nicely for you. Now they have a really interesting dilemma. Where exactly do they go? So they could either go over here and make sure that they need 2 city caps to finish the city, but I think the downside is that you could draw a tile, like a triple city tile, that connects his city to your city and then just block 2 meeples versus 1. So he opts for something that I think is stronger, even though it's typically undesirable to have 2 meeples tangled up in 1 city. Still, we're early in the game, the chances of blocking are pretty low, and now you play a really strong move, which I really like. You take 2 points over here and close your opponent's city. I think it's really nice. It's a good use of a city cap, because you're making sure that he cannot draw one of the triple cities with a road in order to expand his ruin. Marty starts a new city. I disagree with that move. I don't think it's the best move. I think you start a city in a way that harasses the monastery, even though it would not have worked. I guess they wanted to start the city in a place which makes sure that does not create a big field, because they realize that they will be down on meeples pretty much forever, so they want to keep the position as close as possible. But it's still not worth it. This square was better for them, because it messes with the road, it messes with the monastery a little bit, and also this place is not like it's super safe. You can draw a crossroads, go over here, create a blocking platform with tempo, get another crossroads and stuff. So there's this pattern of, like, you want to avoid starting cities in places where you have pieces of crossroads coming out like this, because in some sequences you get blocked with tempo. But anyway, that's a digression talking about green moves. Of course, we're talking about red's moves. We should talk about red's moves more often. You get the monastery. And now you see they meepled the roads, which you could have meepled. Wait. Why do they not meeple it? It does not make any sense. What is going on today? Okay. Now you do meeple the road, of course. Why would you not do that? It's a good road. Like, if you're just pre-building it, I think you have sometimes, I mean, you're a very, very strong player, but sometimes you play too conservatively and this costs you. What's going to happen after this move? Your opponent's going to get this tile, place it over here, finish your monastery, but enjoy a nice 8-point road that you built for him. Now, I see that your concern is that maybe it can be a bit blocked. So let's say if your opponent gets something like this, puts it over here, and then instead of having 3 tiles, you have 2 tiles to get your meeple back. First of all, still pretty decent odds if you ask me. Second, your opponent can only do that with 1 tile in the deck with this crossroads. Anything else gives you at least 3 tiles to use. And second, if we're concerned about this square, which I think we are, maybe instead we just go over here. Actually, yeah, I think a better move instead of placing this tile over here was to place this tile over here and meeple this road, because we would be also protecting our city, because we would make sure that this blocking platform cannot be that effectively anymore, and we would be like rebuilding all kind of beautiful things. I see why you didn't do that. Maybe you didn't want to do that because your opponent could draw a straight line and put some pressure on your monasteries and the road. And I agree, that's a bit awkward. But still, your opponent would need to spend a tile in order to give a point to your monastery. And there is still 5 crossroads, like you can still get away with this. So, and this road is just so many points. It's so many points. I think like wherever you place it over here or you place it over here, this move just has to come with a meeple. Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing that I told you was going to happen is happening exactly now. And I mean, yeah, you see, like with your 2 monasteries, you got an opening advantage, and if you get the road, like you're doing just great, and you can't like you almost can never lose this, because you're up on the scoreboard. Your opponent has a blocked meeple, and at least now they got a road which was worth 8 points, which compensates one of the monasteries. Now, what should we do with this tile? A variety of options. One is to start a new road over here, harassing the city. All very good. Another, which actually I think is not that bad at all, to go over here, meeple this road, try to connect through a Dorito with a road over here, threaten the completion of the city, and create a blocking platform against these guys. Honestly, I think this would be really strong. But yeah, I would go either here or here. Okay, you go over here, which makes sense. You start a blocking platform, but like you're ahead. I don't think you really need to block the city in order to win. If I were you, like strategically, I would be just much better off collecting compensation. Because, I mean, of course, if you block these cities, you win. But it takes you 4 tiles to do so, and most of the time you don't block those cities because of a large number of Doritos. So you're better off making a multi-purpose move. Like, yeah, if you want to block, you go over here and you equalize a road, and you also do this. So this move over here was just simply an upgrade from what you were trying to do, if you ask me. And in the unlikely event that your opponent draws something like this and splits off your road, well, that's even better, because your opponent spends a city cap on continuing your city, which is still absolutely live, and there's still plenty of road ends for you to finish this road or continue this road, or maybe even just take a curve and like plug this road into their city. Then your opponent is forced to defend with another curve. They have only 1 meeple, which means that they cannot meeple this road, but then you take a road end and suddenly you end up with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 point road as a compensation, which your opponent will give to you when they place a Dorito with a road over here. I don't know if you were following this, but basically what I was trying to say, as I keep talking about this, I keep getting more convinced that this is the move in this situation. All right, Marty goes over here. Then, of course, you should continue with your blocking idea. Again, this move is okay, but why do we start a blocking platform if we don't use it? Like, we go over here and just continue. I know that maybe you don't want for your city to be vulnerable, but there's so many tiles still in the game. Barely any city caps have been used. Also, a boatload of road tiles have been used up, which means that your opponent has fewer blocking opportunities. So you're in no rush to finish the city. You can just open a second one and annoy your opponents if that was your initial plan. I mean, your move is okay. I just think annoying your opponent is stronger. From their perspective, they should be finishing this city because they have fewer meeples than you. Okay, now we probably take 2 quick points, but you see, why no meeple? I mean, it's an okay move. Why no meeple on the city cap? Like, it's not dangerous. Like, I mean, you have 5 meeples. Okay, or if you don't want to meeple the city cap, I guess you could like meeple the... No, meepling the road is not worth it, but... Because there's some... I mean, of course, most of it... I know what you're thinking is that your opponent cannot meeple the city cap because they need to draw this tile first. They cannot subject themselves to the block. But there are some scenarios where they get this tile and then they get the city cap. Also, there are 3 tiles like this and there's 1 tile like this. So imagine if you just leave this empty and then the next move you draw something like this. Then if you have a meeple over here, you could finish your city and start a new city over here and create a blocking platform. But if you don't have a meeple over here, all you do with this tile is you take 4 points and you leave an empty city cap. And what could happen? Your opponent gets a road tile in order to defend, and on the next move they get a city cap and freeload off the empty stuff that you left around. So yeah, they start a new city. Yeah, you're saying it's a Pindutron, he cannot meeple the city, but I was just saying that, you see, like, the thing with the Pindutron, what usually happens, most of the time, it is placed with a meeple on somewhere else, like typically on the road, because most of the time it's like 2 points for the road, or on the field even, which of course happens in what happens to be still my most viewed Carcassonne video, even though it was like a really low production thing I made 2 years ago about the Japan versus Russia game final of the 2021 WTCOC World Team Carcassonne Online Championships, where Pindutron made this move and they were dropping a farmer, so they were able to make this maneuver more efficiently. So there was a reason why they did not meeple the city cap. Well, because they didn't have to meeple the city cap. But here, like, you have 5 meeples, you're not losing anything from meeple the city cap. And in some cases, you're losing a little bit of value, like if they get lucky, if they finish the city first, and then they meeple the city cap. Well, anyway, here you have a bunch of choices. You could go over here, equalize this road, but it no longer works because now you're giving them an indirect defense. I think your best move is to go over here to protect this monastery a little bit and to take 3 points. Another option is to take 3 points over here. To me, this is less preferable because you are blocking the blocking square. You want for the city cap to stay as open as possible so that you can take 4 points and create a blocking platform. You went over here, which is still not that bad. I see why you did this, because you want to harass this city a little bit, but in a second we'll see some issues with that. So you see, now you can't really take advantage of the city cap. Because if your opponent gets a Dorito, even if they get this Dorito, if my opponent, I would not go over here. I would go over here and eat up this meeple, because there's still 3 triple cities with a road remaining. I guess now we need to start a new city somewhere, or you can just continue a city like this and simply continue building. Because like this city gets closed surprisingly often. It looks super vulnerable, which it is, like this north city. But it is only vulnerable if your opponent actually spends tiles on blocking, which they don't, because they don't have that much time. So anyway, now it's either this move or this move. I mean, this move, obviously. Let's see which one you do. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Now, unfortunately for you, they get the city back. Now you have two good options, and I think one of them is much better than the other. I want to hear from the chat. So which move do you think is best here? There are three okay options, but there are four okay options, but one is much better than the other. Helge and Elias are saying 3 points at the top, and yes, exactly. So we are restricting the city cap, but most importantly, we are pre-blocking this road over here. If we take the 3 points over here, we're threatening to take this triangle or something like this, or this tile over here, place it like that, and to stick this road into this city piece. The second best move is to go over here and take 3 points in a way that protects your monastery, but this protection is not really that important. Some other options include, I don't know, take these 2 points to eliminate a monastery spot, but given that we're a few points behind and our opponent is about to finish an 8-point city, which is going to equalize our 8-point monastery, we're in no position to eliminate stuff on the board. We just need to score points. And of course, another option is to go over here, but I mean, just don't do that. It's not a good move. It's not worth it at this stage of the game. So you take 3 points at the top. Yeah, great move, great move. Marty starts a monastery, and so do you. Marty fearlessly continuing a city. I'm kind of iffy about that. I think maybe, no, actually, I think a slightly better move with them, given that there's some Doritos remaining, was to just simply start a new city. But no, I'm not sure. I think their move is fine. It's just sometimes there's still these. No, I mean, there's 6 tiles which you can use to equalize this. I think it's a bit iffy on Marty's part. Now, as you're enjoying a slight lead, and honestly, like, even if you were to place this move now, like, that wouldn't be the worst. I wouldn't like it, but there's some merit in that. Okay, I want to hear from the chat again. It's an important moment in the game. I think there's one move which is better than others. Which one would you play? Oh yeah, exactly. And so now you are saying now the -2 point move doesn't look that bad. Yeah, that's an option. And it creates an invasion spot on the other side. Yeah, that's all legit. But I like something else. I think it's still giving away too many points if we were to do this. And this is not what Josef ended up playing anyway. Some other ideas. What do we do with this triple city tile? Okay, 24 on the building. Okay, so Elias is saying I kind of prefer 2 points not to restrict my own monastery. Yeah, so we can like go here, here, and the idea with 2 points is, well, it's just taking 2 points. It's not bad. But this, of course, I agree with Christian. This is what I would play. This, I think, is better because it is also 2 points, except that it continues the threat. We can get Dorito, 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 or Dorito, City Cap, and at the very least, we'll be forcing our opponent to do something about this. Like, these cities are really, really annoying to deal with. But the move that you played was this, and you took 3 points. But I do disagree with that move quite a bit. Well, I see, like, taking 3 points is not wrong. It's the biggest number of points available, but this is only 2 points because you are, continuing your opponent's monastery and giving them 1 point. Also, you're bringing the monastery a bit closer to completion. But the reason why I don't like this move, it restricts your monastery quite a bit, and there's still a couple of monasteries that you can use in that square. Now you only have this square for the monastery, which is not like that good. And I can see why you did that. I assume that you did that because there's still a couple of crossroads remaining that they can use over here, and sort of you take out that opportunity for scoring 3 points. But I don't think it's just worth it at that stage of the game, because you're much more likely to draw something for this square before they draw the one final remaining crossroads that fit over here. This is a move with which I disagree. I mean, Marty's being like really reckless here, if you ask me. Like, what is this? I think the move that they should play, I kid you not, is to take this tile and turn this the other way. And the idea is that there's still 5 city caps that fit into that square. So they have a really good chance of finishing that city. Here, well, they're just like subjecting themselves to attack again and again. Unfortunately for you, you don't get a tile to attack, but you get a nice monastery tile, which I think you should use over here or over here. And by the way, now that you've blocked your own monastery spot, you can't use it over here, and that would have been the best spot. But instead, I think you use it... Oh no, you do it. Okay, you make the best move, which is great. Now they get this monastery tile, and now I think you may have missed something. So there are a couple of good moves. One... Actually, no, I see only one move, really. I think the best move in this position is to go over here and to meeple the city. First of all, because it annoys these monasteries a lot. It's sort of the Ukrainian technique move. And there are some scenarios how you get to build up the city a little bit, or there's some scenarios how your opponent says, you know what, you can have your city cap, and then you just simply finish the city. But the main part is that you're continuing your monastery, and your opponents cannot do anything with these 2 squares, and you're controlling 1 meeple with 2 meeple. You're controlling 2 meeples with 1 meeple of your own. I think this was the best move, and anything else I think is just not that strong. So you end up starting a new city, but you also end up adding 1 point to your opponent's monastery, which... And it also, you make it like much harder to block. Yeah, and they do this, and now their monasteries are much, much safer. Moreover, when they finish this, they're going to meeple this stuff yourself, and now they're going to control your monastery with this meeple when they can build their city around. Okay, it's fine. Now you get to finish a juicy 5-point road, and you'll probably drop a farmer when finishing this, but unfortunately for us, they finish their city before we have the chance to attack. So that was a bit risky on their part, but it worked for them. Still, we're in a decent position. We're going to get 14 points over here, drop a farmer. Now we get to finish a city, and we'll drop a farmer. Or not yet. Yeah, we don't have to drop a farmer just yet. That's completely fine. Oh yeah, Elias is saying Ukrainian and Savior Monastery, referring to the previous city. Yeah, we talked about that. Marty starts a new city. Now again, final chance, final chance. Well, now that their monasteries are pre-finished, you have to do this. Because, like, if they get a city cap over here, it's really dangerous for them to finish the monasteries now. Because then you can get a Dorito and you just be one tile away from finishing. And also, like, it's a 5-point move. It's a good move. Instead, you make another decent move and drop a farmer, which is okay because you're threatening a block. But still, it's like it's not as strong as the alternative. They get to the defense. You, of course, build up your field, which works out quite nicely. They get some quick points. Now we have an interesting choice. We might actually just meeple this 12-point field straight away. But because there's still this little square over here, I think we may have an opportunity later. So I think the best move is to go here, get the meeples back, get the points on the scoreboard, and if your opponent's meeple is this field, then we use that square to take that field away from him. So I like what you did over here. And I'm surprised that you dropped the farmer. I think it's a good move, but yeah, no, it's a good move. It's a good move. Then they take the thing. Then I guess, yeah, we have to take 3 points at the top, so we don't really have that many options. Okay, so they get a city back. Now our next move should really be dictated by our win condition. Let's see what's happening on the board. We have 11 points and a meeple, which is fantastic. We have 3 extra points on the field, which is plus 14. We have fewer monastery points, 5 versus 16, so we have 9 fewer monastery points, which means we're at plus 5, and we have -1 in this mini battle, which means we are plus 4 and a meeple, which is fantastic. So how do we win this? Honestly, I think pretty easily at this point, no? So of course, ideally, we want to use a meeple over here, but we can't really do that with this tile. And here we have 2 options. Either we can just go over here and take this juicy ruin. Yeah, I don't rather like it actually. Or we can go over here and still preserve the threat of completing the city, except for the threat is not that strong anymore, because we need 2 specific city caps and a Dorito. So maybe I like this, but this move is also perfectly legit. We will get to utilize our meeples elsewhere. Yeah, Marty now prevents the thing that we were trying to do. And now here, I think you made a really strong move. I'd like for somebody else in the chat to find this. Elias is saying Ninja Farmer. Oh, no, why would we do that? If we go over here, our opponents, we're leaving a city cap and our opponent still has like a road tile with which they can separate us. And also we are ahead. Okay, well, now it's, I think, completely equal, but we're 1 meeple ahead, 1 clean meeple ahead. Like when you're 1 clean meeple ahead with no compensation, you win this. Like you don't need to risk like that. Ah, okay, so Elias, ooh, that's interesting. Huh, I actually like this. Adding to the building and threatening to finish it. It puts us at +1. And our opponent needs to spend a tile over here. I rather like it. But I like more what Reds actually did in the game. Two points plus cap in your field. That also works. Oh, actually, no, maybe that's even better. Maybe that's even better. No, I still like Red's move. Anyway, well, none of you called it. Road. It's a pretty nice greedy road. There's still 4 tiles. And like we don't even need to finish this necessarily because we're ahead +5. And we can just outrun our opponents. The problem is, of course, is that now they finish their monasteries and they take a 4-point ruin. So they just made a 6-point move and we are suddenly 1 point behind. But it's okay because we still have a decent position. Oh, but we're also down 1 meeple. Ouch. So we get to continue this monastery if we want. Maybe we get to finish this road. We can't threaten the city anymore, but that's okay. Well, actually, like, technically we can. Dorito, triple city cap. A tall order, but that such a threat can exist. Oh, okay, so Napalm, you did call the move slightly before I showed it, so well done for that. Okay, you're trying to connect the fields, but I don't see the point. I think you're better off connecting the fields like this, because they will be connected if you finish the road. I think you're just better off taking 1 point for the monastery. Like, it will take you from -1 to 0. I don't know. I just prefer to do a move that does something, and yeah, just 1 point. 1 point is fine. They start a city, which is damaging for us, but it's still not guaranteed that they're gonna finish it. So we can just drop the divide. Yeah, but I don't know. Rather than starting a new field, why not just drop the divider in the existing field? Because, like, essentially you're spending a meeple for 3 points, but you will be able to spend the meeple for better if you get this tile for this ruin, or I don't know, you might need to invest, for example, also you might need to invest a meeple into tying the city. Imagine if they get a city cap over here, then if you... No. I don't know. It just does not seem to me that these 3 points are particularly valuable. And here you can drop the farmer in a way that allows you to score 7 points with one of these 2 city caps without creating a new field connection spot. I mean, your move is also right. They get to equalize the roads. We get to score 7 points. Now they're creating a 50-50, hoping that you do not get this tile over here. But if you do get this tile over here, I think you win. Before we decide on our next move, I think we should figure out what's the game situation. I forgot what the points are. I'm just going to recount them again. So, -3 on the fields. Well, we have +9, right? Yeah, we have +9 on the field, so at +6. +1 in this mini battle, that's +7. This is equal. And -3. And +1 over here. Wait, are we at +5? How did we lose this if we're at +5? I've no idea. Wait, am I missing something? If we are at +5. Okay, I want to see what y'all think. Oh, +2, you're saying. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna need to recount this again. Have I counted the ruin on the right? Ah, yes, that's why. I forgot about this guy, because the camouflage and green meeples, I completely forgot about this. Okay, so it's +2 for us. Still a good position, we have tempo. The move that I'm thinking, that I think can work, is we go over here and we drop a farmer, no? And then our opponent, I think, does not really have a good way to utilize both farmers. So what this does, if we go over here, we tie the roads, so we lose 1 point. But we also tie the field, so we gain 3 points. And we drop a farmer, so we gain 3 more points. Which means that we're gaining 6, which puts us at +8. It gives our opponents an advantage, a meeple advantage. But how on earth are they going to score 8 points with 1 meeple? I just don't see this on the board. I think if we connect here and we drop a farmer, that's just a winning move. Also, on top of that, it kind of eliminates the threat of them completing a city, because if they get a Dorito and they go over here, suddenly they have 2 city caps with which they can win. If we go over here, then we eliminate that threat. Now, the only way they'd be able to complete their city... No, they would not. They would not be able to complete their city. Well, I guess there's this like very weird combination of tiles of... No, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way. So, unless I'm missing something catastrophically, I think that the winning move for you is to go over here and drop a farmer. Oh, that's why. Why no farmer? That's the main issue that I have. I think the reason why this should be with a farmer, well, is first of all to prevent your opponent from dropping on this farmer, because your opponent can equalize. But anyway, it's just simply because there's still quick point tiles remaining. And so check this out. There's this tile, which you can spend without investing a meeple. And there's this tile, which you can spend without investing a meeple. And also just in general, being +8 is really good. Now you're only +5. Well, not only +5, but... I am not sure. But it does seem to me that a meeple on something, either the farm or simply this, actually, it's also completely okay. Well, anyway, you know, a meeple on the farmer I think is better. And also here's why. The board is so dry that you don't necessarily need meeples for anything in particular. And if you draw this or this, you can still just get 1 point here or here. So that was my logic. Okay, saying the 5-point city is a 6-point city actually. That's what it. Ah, okay. Yeah, so they get this, which is unfortunate for us. But look at the situation now. Now we don't really have a good move. The most points that we can get is 3 points, which we could have gotten anyway on the previous move. Had we gotten 3 points on the previous move, we now could get an extra point here and have one more point with the same number of meeples. I mean, of course you're going to take 3 points over here, which is fine. Now your opponent takes 3 points over here. Because of the 6-point city... Oh yeah, and you lose a coin flip, I see. So of course, like, a lot of really, really good things needed to happen for your opponent in order to win. But actually, I think we could have prevented even that. No, we could have not. Because now the maximum that we can score is 3 over here. So had we placed a farmer over here, we would only be having 1 point more. Or maybe had we used this tile for a monastery, we would have had 2 points more. And then we would have tied the game. As you can see, I think you ended up losing by 2 points or something. But now I'm thinking, check this out. What if on that move that I said, you drop a farmer here, and then on this move, you drop a farmer here anyway, and you spend your last meeple. But your opponent now has no farm to claim with this tile. Oh no, they still have this farm, which they can claim. But then you can take this tile and block a 3-point move for them. I think that would work. I think you would then tie. Okay, can somebody also suggest something else? This endgame is more interesting than I thought. I mean, like, obviously your opponent got like a boatload of tiles at the end and you had really good winning probabilities, but maybe we could have made it 100. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So of course the last move are pretty obvious. And then they connect. It's just a style move. Instead they could have simply completed the city caps over here. Yeah, I mean, very, very interesting games. Ending quite hard to calculate. I do think you had a few moves which could have given you a better winning chance. One, dropping this farmer does give you a better winning chance. Taking this ruin probably gives you a better winning chance, just because the board is very dry and this is a 6-point city. It's just like super valuable. Yeah, and potential city, 8-point city as well. And in the middle game, tactically, I think you had 2 chances to take this ruin and control your opponent's monasteries. That was another big thing. And most of the opening. So what I've noticed from your games is, like, obviously you're a very, very strong player, and there's a reason why you've actually climbed all the way to #1 on BGA rankings at some point. But I noticed that sometimes you lose games because of excess conservatisms, maybe like not placing a meeple somewhere, or, you know, taking 2 points where you could have taken 3 points just a bit in a ever so slightly riskier place. I think, yeah, if you just start placing your meeples on things a bit more often, especially those things that your opponent can take, then like you'd probably just be completely unstoppable. So yeah, that would be what I have to say about this game. It's very interesting, very complex, and we do end up losing by 2 points, unfortunately, and it's hard to say which move exactly was decisive. But I do think, despite our opponent's luck at the end, it was a winnable tile run out for us. Joseph is saying, how about not joining the roads at all? I don't think that's a good idea because, I mean, if you join the roads, you get points. It's a net positive move. Like, you did get 2 points because of that. And you did block his city. So I do think you do have to join the roads. So from that point, it was correct. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure what the time situation was, but in case you were in time trouble, which would make sense in the endgame, I think I would have meepled the field intuitively without calculating the win probabilities, just because I know that there are some quick point tiles remaining. And I want to make sure that I spend all my meeples by the end of the game, that I don't end up with a meeple surplus. Because like having an accidental meeple surplus is like a very painful way to lose. I lost like that. No, I accidentally tied the game in person like this, which I could have won in the British Championships against Matt Tucker back in April. Yeah, and I didn't like place a meeple on the penultimate move because I sort of like forgot that we were running out of tiles to do that. Well, anyway, if anybody has anything else to say about this game or any other games, then do let me know. Friends, I thank y'all for joining what ended up, I think, our longest game analysis stream. It's been over 2 hours and over 2.5 hours for just 3 games. But all 3 games, especially the third one, were just so complex that lots of things to talk about. Next week, we're going to have a regular viewer games analysis episode. I kind of have candidates, but if any of you want to send me something, then do let me know. But we're going to have enough games no matter what. And after a week from that, it's Carcassonne against viewers. We're going to play some games, and then a week after that, it's Azul against viewers. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.